don't think I like your religion. Don't always make the best decisions, yeah, yeah. Not saying you don't have good intentions. I know that you are only human, yeah.
Hey, good people. I'm Reverend Kojo. We're really excited about this episode of Unchurched. Of course, we've got myself, Reverend Kojo, we've got Minister Jamar, and we've got a special guest here, Nick Holt. Now, funny story, Nick Holt does a whole bunch of cool stuff all over the country, but we all got our start right here at Nineveh Baptist Church. As a matter of fact, I just stand next to this guy in the youth choir. So we're really excited about having you here today. We're going to have an awesome conversation. Nick, for the people at home who don't know who you are, just give them a short rundown of who you are, what you do.
Yeah, so I'm from Birmingham, graduated from the University of Alabama. No hard feelings towards you, but I still love you. But yeah, so graduated from the University of Alabama, and now I am full-time in athletics. I coach and I am a director for a soccer organization, and just trying to change the world one day at a time. So that's pretty much what I'm doing. So
sounds good. So there's a lot of chaos going on in the world, and people have been asking, "Where's the church?" And I'm going to ask a different question because I think growing up in Birmingham, we're familiar with some larger churches, and we're familiar with. I know me going to Auburn per se, being in a lot of white spaces as a black person, and sometimes being in white Christian spaces versus being in in black Christian spaces can feel like a paradigm. And I can just give you an example before I'll let you, before we throw you into the wolves. But I know for me, for one thing, it's like almost the worship experience or the way that things are organized, the way that we conduct ourselves is completely different. And so today we just want to have a candid and honest conversation about being black in white spaces under the guise of being a Christian. So, if you want to tell us your background, your history, your church,
Yeah, so I guess roughly around 2008-ish, I went to a predominantly white school at Chase Mountain Christian, and I had a friend reach out and was like, "Hey, I would love for you to come to this youth service on a Wednesday night." And so for me, I was like kind of hesitant about it because, like you said, spaces are different. How am I going to be accepted? So the first time I went, man, it was a lot different than what I had been used to. But it was a great experience. I felt very welcome, and kind of from there, it was literally like every week I was pushing my parents like, "Hey, this is kind of where I want to go to church," and stuff like that. So I guess right before I went off to my first college, I got to play soccer at Belhaven University. I got heavily involved with the local church here, and which is now the largest church in Alabama, and probably one of the largest, I guess, behind Joel Osteen in America. So it was a great experience, but like you said, it's very different. So just the whole different type of, like you said, the way things are done on Sunday mornings. It's very it's very like, hey, not a business, but I mean, pretty much, you know what I mean. So, and then when I was in Alabama, I was heavily involved with the Tuscaloosa campus. I got involved in audio and lighting and stuff like that, and then eventually, built an established relationship with people amongst the leaders and stuff like that. So, it was a positive experience. I never experienced anything that frustrated me until now. So, yeah. So, yeah.
Well, I guess I can speak to that in an adverse way. I did a lot of ministry with First Priority in high school and early college, as well as something we do at Auburn called After Dark. And I've always been passionate about the gospel. But it seemed a little bit too planned, if you will. And I say that as somebody who is like super perfectionist. I get really frustrated about being late. I get really frustrated about those things. But it seemed a little bit too planned, or as if you had to do it this way. You didn't have to do it.
Yeah.
Did you express that?
Yeah, I think I think it comes from the fact that, from a standpoint, most people are going to watch a 5-minute video rather than an hour video.
Right.
So most people, who want to get fed the gospel, or who first time visiting church, they don't want to stay in there for 2.5 hours, so they're like, peeling new players, hey, new people, hey, you know what? We're going to be here for an hour, we're going to worship, and we're going to have a word. Good and bad to it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm like, I went to TD Jakes Church. I look down, I'm like, maybe Monday before we get out of here, but it was a great experience. But yeah, I agree. It was like that. And, it's not anything bashing. I think different things work for different churches and stuff like that. But yeah, 100%. Yeah.
No, I'll say this. You said 2008 is when you started going. 2008, I got into the basement.
Yeah.
I don't want to call names, but that's what I got into with Matt Pitt. And I, of course, grew up from 16, 15 in Nineveh, black church, all my life. But I had kind of gotten bored with God.
Yeah.
I put it that way.
Yeah.
But when I went to the basement, it reignited something big in me.
Yeah.
And I brought my wife, my time, my girlfriend, and she as well experienced it. But we sat around predominantly white people. And I didn't feel anything negative. I knew them. I went to work with them. They had a special seat for me because they had a special seat. Yeah. So I always got treated with love. But I did grow out of the church or the basement because of the experience. It became too much like a business. Yeah. I liked the structure of it, but some of the things they were doing I didn't care for, and I kind of fell out of that space, which went back to them.
Yeah, so it's funny you say that because I was heavily involved with the basement. So again, like I think from the learning experience, I learned that being in the church or you want to be on staff, that unfortunately there is a business side too. Yeah. So it's very hard to maintain the perfect way of making sure we're not being too busy and making sure we also have people come back and making sure that people who are in full-time ministry, I mean, we get it, like we got to put food on the table for our families. Yeah. So the basement was a thing that reignited our relationship, to be honest. Because I was at the point of pretty much leaving. Just to be honest, man, I was tired of going on Sundays. I was tired. I actually had the same conversation with my parents last week, man. We're in church all the time, but I see my people suffering. I see people that look like me not getting our fair opportunities. I see, what's happening in the world. I'm just like, too much of it became a business rather than are we actually reaching people?
Right.
I don't care what you do on Sunday morning. I care about what you're doing on Monday through Saturday. Yeah. How you're reaching the lost and things of that nature. So.
I mean, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. I guess I when I look at churches that do big ministry, it seems like at a way higher rate, predominantly white churches tend to have more funds. And so I guess I'm always asking the question, how as black churches with a missional focus, do we get to the place where we can be completely missionally focused?
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
100%. I think the big thing, speaking off of my experience and how people were attracted to the church I was involved in, and I still love the church and thankful for what they did. I think the biggest thing is just the outreach. There was, if we're behind someone at the line at Starbucks or in front of someone at the line at Starbucks, we pay for their note, give them a card that says, we love you, love God, love people. I think in the African American community, I think we struggle with supporting one another.
That's good.
It's, for example, I used to always, it was just bad, like I used to, when the worship center kind of got big around here, I was just like, kind of hesitant when in the spaces and stuff like that. People say, I go to the worship center, but that's unfortunately the attitude, and I had to check myself there, and I got to, meet Pastor Van and kind of experience him, and what he does is fantastic, and I think we struggle supporting one another. Yeah. I don't know why. I wish I had the answers. I feel like it's disappointing to see that we'll go support another church, or we won't support our own church, or if our own church is having a picnic or we're doing outreach, you don't show up. But
you're doing something else.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just, I think we got to support each other more. I think we also have to hold our leadership more accountable. That was the big thing too. that was serving at the church was, man, we signed a contract. Watch what you post on social media, watch how you engage and at church. Especially being in a college town, like you have your own leadership, and I was an intern leader one semester. So obviously we got Alabama football. So, what kind of message are you kind of giving out on Sunday? You're recovering from the night before. You know what I'm saying? So I think accountability was huge. I think support was huge, and I don't know. I have that conversation all the time. I think even outside the church, even with our businesses and stuff like that, we just don't support one another. It's, well, why are you doing it that way? Or, I don't know, it's frustrating. It's frustrating.
I guess, and I own a couple of businesses, and my family owns a business. And what I've noticed, and I hate to have to say this on air, I've noticed our most faithful customers, and I mean like faithful, like you send them a bill and they pay it every year at the same time of the year. They're like, let me get my appointment. You're never having the price hike. Don't look like us.
100%.
And I guess it's a question of a heart problem, or questions we need to ask and interrogate in our own spaces. Why are we this way?
And I think it starts here. I think it starts with respectful dialogue.
Yeah.
I understand what we go through as a race is very disappointing at what we've gone through in the past with our history, but we're at a time now where we have resources. We're at a time now where there's no reason that I should drive through some of the areas that I drive through and it looks the way it does. There's no reason why I used to coach at a predominantly white school here, and it would take literally months to get something back from inner city schools or Birmingham city schools. It would take, and it's not bashing, it's responsibility, accountability. And it would take, it was frustrating where I would go and we would see these turf fields and they're poking holes in it and not taking care of the way that things are. We need to start taking care of our stuff, man. We gotta support one another, and like you said, it is frustrating. I don't know, respectful dialogue is important. Holding each other accountable without being defensive is important.
I think you just said a mouthful.
It's frustrating. I would say that we have great resources. We have extremely talented people. We have politicians. We have, different type of athletes. We have leaders. But if it's out of the norm, we got to start supporting that. It can't be, well, why are you talking white? Well, why are you hanging out with all those white people? Why are you doing that? You're playing what? You're playing soccer? Why are you doing that? Like, that's stupid. Why are you not playing football and basketball? I mean, it's just like, bro, we're pushing ourselves back by constantly saying, hey, you talk white because you talk educated. I dealt with that all my life. Well, you talk white.
I have to.
What does that mean?
But how do you talk white?
So basically, you're implying that if I'm black, I don't know how to articulate my words and stuff like that. So that was the frustrating part for me. And to be honest, I mean that's part of the reason why I kind of went into those spaces, because I felt more accepted of who I was. I mean, let's just be honest. There was times where in groups, and I'm like, I do not get up. I just different. I don't fit. Even with some of my family members, it's just like I have no idea what y'all talking about. And so I think we have to love one another and support each other. So my sister's like, hey, I want to play soccer in college. I'm like, go. Leave Birmingham now. Experience those type of things, and so yeah.
I mean, I feel that on a very sad almost note. I chose Auburn because Auburn was only 6% black, and I can tell that story now because I'm okay with being black now.
Mm-hmm.
But coming out of high school, I chose Auburn because I'm like, I don't like these spaces.
Mm-hmm.
We don't speak the same, we don't think the same, we don't have similar ambitions. And then I got to Auburn, and then I found this thing called the Black Student Union, and I found educated black people who could form sentences and thoughts and have discussions, and it kind of changed my whole purview on race.
Yeah.
And so I guess that kind of leads me to this question. Have you ever been in black spaces or white spaces, and you just kind of looked around and you were like, okay, why am I really here?
Mm-hmm.
You ever had one of those moments?
Too many. At Alabama, I don't think we 6%. It was 6%. But I don't even think it was. I think all black. I think it was all athletes and me. What I'm saying? I think sometimes I was questioning myself. I I wanted to be a news reporter. And you know, going through the classes and stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, it's just different. It's just different. But I don't know, man. It's just, I just wish we all could get along. I just really do, man. I know that's cheesy, but yeah.
Nicole hit on something when she asked the question. Now, I'm a little different from y'all.
Yeah.
I grew up. I'll say I grew up in the hood.
Yeah.
I did. I really did. And what got me is that, like Nick said, we don't take care of our stuff. But now we do have churches coming out that don't look like us, taking care of our stuff.
Yeah.
We get mad when we see it happen.
Exactly. Yes.
And the church, our black churches aren't stepping up the way they should in a sense as well. But when I was coming through high school, I didn't go to Irwin at the time. It was predominantly white, and I had never been to school with white folks, so it was a little different.
Yeah.
But for me, I don't think they went to school with black people.
Yeah.
So I would get called names. I would get called this and that, and I would fight. I would rebel against it, but I didn't take the name as being something personal attack. I knew I wasn't that, but I knew I had to defend myself at the same time. And then the school became predominantly black all of a sudden. And I was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Because it was so different at the time. But I did find myself in different spaces, even in different situations. As being a black male at the club, doing things, I'm like, why am I here? Why am I really in this place? Because I know I'm better than this.
Yeah.
Nothing against the people in the club who still part of it go out,
Yeah.
but I know that I wouldn't cut forward anymore.
Yeah.
But again, when I would go to let's say the basement, I was questioning myself at times when I would see the white Jesus, quote unquote, but the black devil. And I'm like, why is the devil always black in these skits?
Yeah.
Well, why does he keep always these fuck goals at least once? So those things, I was questioning like, Jesus is I don't think he's this color, but I know the devil's not black. So let's not put this way. So I would question that. That's when I fell out of the basement experience when I was like, maybe I'm not accepted the way I'm thinking I should be, or I am in my head. And so I have been in those places, even in the black church, even myself. Why am I here? What there's more to this than what I'm seeing now.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we all run into.
What you said about with the churches, white churches going in our spaces that we consider our spaces, whatever, Church of the House, okay? So West Birmingham campus is where I recently started serving, which is at a historically black hospital, part of the hospital. And when it first got announced, there was literally a pastor had white people weren't accepted in this space.
Yeah.
But you've been there 50 years and we ain't heard from you, we ain't seen you out, and stuff like that. So I think, man, we gotta be the feet. I think the church, I'm just speaking on the African American community, in some aspects it's just become simply a building rather than being the actual people. If you're only just showing up on Sunday, you got the suits, you got the hats and all that stuff like that, people don't care about that. People don't care what you know, they want to know that you care. And so what I saw, speaking from my experience in West Birmingham, is people that looked like me, that were being taken care of, that were being accepted in those spaces, that were, hey, we're going to pay your power bill this month. We're going to give you, resources to get you a job. We're going to give you resources to go finish your high school diploma, your college diploma. I saw kids in Tuscaloosa that felt like they had no more hope, but they were given that hope, and those kids go off, and now they're ministers and leading churches like that. And not even the aspect of the church. I can say it because I was in a predominantly, I think I graduated with 4 black people. Okay. When my best friends who are white go off to something, their families they're supporting, their friends they're supporting. If it's a business idea, it's not why are you doing that? What are you doing? What are you thinking? It's not why are you talking like that. They're supporting one another. They're educating each other on stuff like that. Rather than I feel like sometimes as a race, we get educated, we get the money. See ya. I don't know you. I never saw you. And so, recently with soccer, thanks coronavirus, but I was trying to kind of reach back out and kind of get the African American community more involved there, reach out in that aspect. But I think we need more respectful dialogue. I think we got to support each other, man. We press ourselves back so much when we say, well, you talk white, or you act this way because you do this. Or if you go this route, people call me on Facebook, well, you went this route, so you don't know about the struggle. Yeah. How?
But I think it's a different struggle.
Yeah.
And to me, okay, I grew up with 2 parents like you did. As a matter of fact, our parents are friends.
Yep.
Grew up with 2 parents who worked hard, and I didn't know I didn't have the experience not having the power. But every level has different devils. You know, I know the cliche. But every level demands something different. So no, I'm not struggling on the bottom layer, but I think we struggle in different ways. We struggle psychologically.
Yes.
We struggle in spiritually. You know, am I supposed to be here at this church? Am I supposed to, you know, and some of us am I supposed to be a Christian?
Yeah.
You know, and
100%. Yeah. 150%. Yeah.
you know, and so you're struggling with different issues because you don't have to tend to the other issues at the bottom. But I think we have to be very careful. I mean, and I think especially the three of us in this room, that as we progress, that we never take our ear from the ground. If that makes sense.
So true.
Because I think the moment we take our ear from the ground, then we are guilty of not recognizing the struggle.
Yeah.
But I really want to talk about what happened this past weekend.
Yeah.
And I guess from your purview, when you initially saw the messages, and let me just catch up. There's a popular pastor here, largest church in the state of Alabama. The pastor was liking some things on Instagram that many black people didn't feel comfortable with. And it hurt a lot of feelings. A lot of people began to question themselves, and I know that you were very vocal about it.
Yeah.
And so just tell us how that felt.
Yeah, I think when people say that, well, what did you expect? You know, it's kind of a slap in the face, you know.
Okay.
I'm just saying that, you know, what people are saying on Facebook and stuff like that, but I think from a standpoint, you know, you said about thinking about even being a Christian, that's kind of where I was in 2008, 2009, you know, because it became more of a, okay, it's Sunday morning, let me put my clothes on, let me make sure I'm on time for Jermaine and Roger and the choir, let me make sure, you know, I do this, I got my money right, okay, and then Sunday, like, okay, back to what I was doing.
That was good. Yeah.
So, and, you know, and fast forwarding through kind of with college and stuff like that, I'll just be honest, like 2016, I hit a very rough spot with depression, anxiety. I was confused about a lot of stuff. And, you know, we all have things that we go through. We all have storms we go through, seasons that we go through. So I remember coming back from Mississippi from I think it was a soccer tournament, and I was like, this is it. Like I'm completely done. I'm gonna, you know.
And so just to clarify, you're done with church, you're done with God.
I'm done with my life.
Wow.
Done with my life.
Okay.
So I was very suicidal, very on the edge of just like, I'm done. And I thought I had beat it the first time, and then, you know, I moved to North Carolina last year. In my first like 2 months, I went through some crazy stuff. Witnessed someone get murdered, like literally from me to my buddy off camera right here, like very close.
Wow.
So I was at the point of where I was done, but I was still in church. And then so December of 2019 passed, and I ended up going to the Christmas services at Church in Hollis, and I was done again. Like a lot of people thought I was better, but really inside, like I was eating myself up. I was depressed. And I heard, you know, Pastor Chris's sermon, and that for me triggered just something. Like I just felt all the weight that I had been holding just fall off of me. Ended up getting rebaptized and just going through all this and beating depression and anxiety. So for me, this was a guy that, obviously God used him, but this was a guy that literally prevented, this is a guy that literally pulled, you know, the gun or the medicine or whatever way I was going to do of possibly harming myself out of my hands. I remember being in the church in Tuscaloosa. I remember my college pastor, what he did for me, I can't even get into it, just so much that he did for me as a individual. I met my best friends there. This is where I rededicated my life to Christ. This is where all this happened. So for me, I was very heartbroken. Still am. Do I forgive him? Yes. But I think, again, kind of supporting one another, like just because I go a different route than you doesn't mean that I hurt. So it was disappointing to see. It really was. And I was like, it was like I call him out. I mean, it is what it is. I call him out. I think we need to be held accountable. And people are like, well, what are you trying to say? You're upset because he's conservative? Like, no. It's just like I used to think, like, I coach high school girls. if I'm going and liking pics of whatever,
Yeah.
I don't want my kids around that person or whatever. So if I'm going and liking, I know I have African American community, and this guy saying that white privilege is false and racism is a myth of the left, whatever the left and right is. I guess I'm tired of hearing that, but in all this stuff like that, man, it was a slap in the face. But I think the way he responded it was a great job. It was needed. An apology was needed. Saturday morning, he spoke, and Mayo Sewell, who was over the West Birmingham campus at Parker, like I spoke about earlier, he and the other African American leaders in the church prayed. Sunday morning, he apologized, and then Monday he sent another apology letter to the church. And I think I feel like, even not just with Pastor Chris, I feel like with pastors and stuff like that, sometimes we forget they're human.
Yeah.
That's not excusing what he's saying. That's not, excusing that I wasn't hurt or something like that. But sometimes I think we kind of forget that. I don't hate Pastor Chris. I'm moving, so I wasn't going to go to church anyways because they're not opening back up until I leave, until I move. But I know a lot of my African American friends have forgiven him or are going back. I appreciate his apology, but like I said, I don't care about your words. I want to know what's next.
Yeah.
It's very close to Mountain Brook. Are you going to speak up to the people that come to church on Sunday that don't like me?
Yeah.
That will go say Roll Tide or Eagle on Saturday and sit next to me in church and say, why is he sitting next to me? So I don't care what you say. I just want to see, hey, like I said on my Facebook page, what are we going to do next? Because there is, I can't say I know how, someone that may be homosexual or someone who may be going through, any type of addiction or alcohol addiction. I don't know how they feel, but I can't say it doesn't exist. So there may be there may be some black people who've never experienced racism. But there are some who have. A lot of people who have. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So I want to see how they respond. I think they've done a fantastic job on how they responded so far. But we got to continue to have that dialogue. And, the sad thing is, if he continues to speak up, he's going to lose members.
And that's a tough one because he has to play both sides. I hate to say it that way at this point. I'm outside looking in. I would say I didn't agree with the apology. Reason being, if you did it, I would say fess up to it and speak to who you are. Kind of like Drew Brees. You say what you said. It's too late to retract. I respect you more if you stuck to it. But
Exactly.
I just think him being the position he is, he's in, he shouldn't have liked the pictures. Maybe he got a different name to like him. I'm sorry, you got it listed under your which throws things out. Like Nick said, if me and Nicole being youth and young adult ministers, we can't go around liking certain things. We can't go, taking a picture, smoking Black and Mild or a cigarette or drinking. It's going to give the wrong impression. But again, I forgive him because I know that's what we're supposed to do. But again, I don't agree with it. I would respect him more again if he was stuck to his conservative rights and his ways.
I think too, accountability is so important.
That's big. Yeah.
If me, who wasn't on that leadership, went and got slapped drunk and posted my Snapchat of me, drunk with some female or whatever, I'm gonna get asked to step down or take a break. Now, Church of House has done a lot more good than bad. I think, like you said, are you sorry? For me, when the first I heard the apology was are you sorry because you got caught?
Yeah.
Or are you sorry because, you know what I mean? So it's been a very tough time, man. It's been a lot of confusion. It's been a lot of tears. I don't want to speak ill towards anyone, but I truly do hope that, I said on my podcast the other day, I think with everything going on, man, I see revival coming. I see maybe not in a religious aspect. I see maybe, I saw the picture of the Black Lives Matter in DC, and I was like, oh, some angry folks. Yeah. But I think I'm happy that people are speaking up. I think it's great, and again, not passive religious thing. I think revolution or things that will not be tolerated anymore. I see people like Drew Reese, bro. You just what was that? But yeah.
It's bad timing.
It's bad timing.
It was Pastor Chris. If he would have done it last year before last year,
Yeah.
it may have just went right over people's head. But it's right at the time when all this is hyped. What's going on right now?
Yeah, but I think it was. Actually,
It was, okay.
I think some people did some digging.
So it's like, how do you get celebrities say dig up?
Yeah. I think it was, but again, it's still. I don't have anything against anyone being conservative. I have conservative views. I don't get into the whole name stuff. That's fine. But when you told me that I love African American people, I love black people, white people, Mexican, Asian, Hispanic, gay, non-gay, whatever, whoever you are, I love you for who you are. If you respect me, I respect you. But to sit here and say that white privilege doesn't exist, so if anyone believes that, if you're watching this, okay, find me a white person, okay, and I'm going to go stand on the steps of Birmingham City Hall with an AR-15. And so is he. Let me know which one gets arrested first.
You have a very valid point. You have a very valid point. So I guess I'm gonna ask you this: you spend a lot of time in Highlands. You're Chris Hodges.
Yep.
What are your next steps? If you're Chris Hodges, what do you do?
Well, for one, I'm reaching out to every African American leader in Birmingham. How can we help? I think that's the first step. And it's, I apologize, but here's what going to be my next steps. If you mean it, put it into action. I think the church does, not even just church and house, I think a lot of churches shy away from topics at hand that need to be spoken about.
Yeah.
And fear of losing members, and fear of losing tithes and offering, and fear of stuff like that. If there is a racism issue, you need to speak on it. If there are people who struggle with pornography or with alcohol, you need to step on some toes.
Yeah.
That is what we're called to do. And I think the fear, I think he's already taken a step forward of getting rid of that fear simply because of, he did unfollow them, the people on social media. He has, like I said, given them, I think the apologies Saturday and Sunday, the public apologies were, yeah. But then I think Monday kind of was like where I was like, okay, he's sincere about this. He means it. I think he really does hurt because I've been around him in circles. I know he loves people. I know he loves all types of people. So I know he is heartbroken, and that's kind of where my frustration was from because people tell me how I should feel, but I'm like, hey, like I've been in the circle. I know who he really is. I can tell someone who's just liking me just to like me. I went to Alabama, so I know when certain individuals are liking me just to say, oh yeah, I do. I'm not racist. I got this black friend I met 4 years ago. Like I know those type of people, and that's not who Pastor Chris is. I love Pastor Chris. I love what he's doing with the mission of the church, and for someone to start in an auditorium and come to where he is now, it's big. And I think I would like to see all churches, black, white, Hispanic, whatever, come together and attack this. Not just, well, that's the black churches, they're experiencing it. It shouldn't be that.
Yes. But it becomes and I know this is not proper language, but it becomes a pissing contest.
Mm-hmm.
Because, when, like you mentioned, when the West End campus happened, all is black, and I'll be honest with you, I felt some type of way.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say this, I felt some type of way because I'm walking East Lake Street, and I don't live in East Lake. I'm walking the streets of East Lake, I'm helping kids, I'm doing free programs,
Mm-hmm.
and you're gonna say y'all are not doing anything. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
But it then becomes, well, my resources are bigger than your resources, and so instead of let me get over here and shoulder it with you, it's, well, we know better.
I think a big thing too is we live in a world of media and social media.
Yeah.
So I don't see you doing it on social media, you ain't doing it.
Is it?
Which
is
back to the people who decided to call me out, which I'm trying to take the high road. But you know, saying I'm not doing anything. I'm like, how do you know? Like, you know, a big thing for me, which resulted from Church in Holland, I began to realize that I loved reaching out and speaking and spending time with the homeless. So I went out to Skid Row, which is a very dangerous area, at night. Handing out food, speaking to people.
Wow.
Being threatened. Being saying, hey, I don't care what you believe. I don't care what if you look like me. You better get, you know, what out of here.
Yeah.
And I think when we take that stuff on, man, it's, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be echoed over social media. It doesn't have to be echoed over the news. If I go out to East Lake and hand out food, I don't need to call JJ Pruitt at WBRC.
Oh, I don't even have to post to Instagram.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, that's between me and someone who's much higher than any authority on this planet. You know?
Yeah.
So I think, are there people doing things? Yes. Are there some stuff that needs to be done? Yes. A whole lot more to be done. And I think, you know, whether you're black, you're white, whatever, silence is purely acceptance. You can't say, you know, I can tolerate if we disagree about politics. There's one thing we ain't gonna disagree about, and that's racism. It's just not tolerated. So, yeah.
I feel that. Well, Nick, you got anything else you want to tell the crowd?
I don't think I do. I'm just excited to be here.
We're really glad to have you.
Yeah, I'm just excited to be here. I guess my message would be willing to listen to people who have different stories than you. Don't write them off because they do things differently. You know, people always hit on the African American community, the men always wearing Jordans, they're always doing this. I'm like, dude, I've never owned a pair of Jordans in my life.
Tacos.
That's not, but I can't go and, you know, I catch myself doing it too, which is sad, but I can't go and say, well, yo, he cares about their shoes and shoes. I'm like, there's white people who spend $2,000 on a purse.
Yeah.
That's nothing against them, but that's their prerogative. So I think we have to start learning to love one another and support one another and be willing to listen. And my last thing we have to say is, if you are a Christian, respectfully, I don't care. I don't think Jesus cares. He's not going to ask you whether it be the rapture or when your time comes to go home. Hey, who did you vote for? Who was your political party? Were you left or were you right? You should be representing Christ first. And that's just a lot of stuff that I'm saying on social media. I'm sure I'll lose a lot of followers. That's fine by. Cutthroat.
But I think that's valid.
Yeah, I mean, just cutthroat. Yeah. So I love y'all, but we got to do better. Gotta do better. So,
any last thoughts?
Just to close out, I've seen a lot of hashtag Black Lives Matter, and people, you know, are putting negative comments and negative posts underneath. All lives do matter. I will agree, but at this moment, Black lives are hurting. We've been hurting for a while. So again, I do agree with the All Lives Matter post, but again, Black Lives Matter is not the new what you call Black Panthers. That's not what they are. We're mixed. It's whites, it's blacks, it's Asians, it's Hispanics mixing in. So just this, love everyone. And I'm gonna say for me, I love you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. So continue to love God, continue to love people, and all will be well.
You know, I saw a post, which I'm not gonna post, but someone said that's kind of like on 9/11 saying all buildings matter. This is the current building, this is the current people that are hurting right now. And realize what you're saying too. There's a lot of African American people in the community fighting against black on black crime. Crime is crime. Okay. There's a lot of people in that community fighting against that narrative, fighting against the things that we have in our community head on every single day. So we have to realize that we gotta respect one another. And right now, it's not saying that Black lives are more important. Like you said, we're hurting right now. So
I think y'all said a mouthful. I think one thing, as we do our parting remarks and we get out of here, I think one thing that we've got to remember that no matter what's going on politically, we have to be the church. The whole purpose of this podcast is to deal with things that we're not talking about in our pulpits, we're not talking about in small groups. But we have to be the church no matter what political side you're planning on voting for in November. And if you make up in your mind that you're not going to vote, I think that's foolish. I think it's foolish, and I think you need to go and vote your heart, and vote for your house, and vote your convictions, and then you need to show up and be the church. Don't complain about it. Don't get in the comments. Don't tweet me if you're not on the ground doing it or making it happen. Don't ask me, well, should you, could you, and would you have done it this way? Because I'm working, we're working. And so we want to encourage you to be the church and do it what God has called you to do. Well, this has been Unchurched. We're so glad, we're so excited, so happy that you came and joined us today.
Absolutely.
And we'll catch you all next week.